Thank you very much for joining us this evening. And tonight we have a very special guest, one of our top guides at African bush camps. You know, I'm always very excited to have conversations with Calvert. He's a personal friend, and I've known him probably for a good sort of 25 years. And that's actually the number of years that Calvert has been guiding. And when I actually was introduced to the safari industry, Calvert was one of them. First inspiration. So thank you very much, Calvert, for joining us. But before I fully introduce you, my name is Beks, and I am the founder and CEO of African Bush Camps. African Bush Camps, this is our 16th year of operating safaris in Zimbabwe, Botswana, and Zambia. We have over 600 staff spread between 4 countries, including Cape Town, where our sales and marketing office and our finance admin team are based. And together, between the 4 countries, we run and manage this incredible business that is a lot of fun that we've incorporated into our lifestyle. And today we have Calvet Nkomo, Zimbabwean. He's a long-standing safari guide of 25 years, and Calvet is a proud wildlife enthusiast. And he's been with African Bush Camps in the last 7 years, creating the magic for all our guests. And families traveling, including my family, actually, who Calvert has taken very good care of. But what's so special about Calvert is that he's also a very keen African traditional performer. So he does all these performances for people when he welcomes them and also during their stay. So he does the enactment of the Zulu and Ndebele warriors wearing his full regalia and attire. So that's definitely a sight to see, but a few things that guests remember about Calvert is his passion and the fact that he comes from Zimbabwe. That's his homeland of very, very rich culture, but specifically what Calvert really is a storyteller, which is what our guides are all about. So Calvert, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Welcome.
Thanks, Bex.
And welcome to and our viewers this evening. Calvert, I'll just give you a chance perhaps to greet everyone, and there's probably some people out there that might recognize you from some of the trips they've taken with you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Calvert. I'm a professional guide working for ABC. Like Bex said, I met Bex long back, guiding together and we're still together now. And like he said, that I'm a traditional singer. Maybe before I go any further, I'll just give you a short song, traditional song of the Matebele. Lo mfano kichimaganga umkangas ememezela impi yomkhonto. All right, yes, it's one of my favorite singing. As a guide, my favorite activity is bird watching. I'm very much excited when I'm guiding. I realize that some of the guests, they come here for Big Five. Then I introduce birds to them. Then when they leave Somalisa, maybe after 3 days, 4 days, they'll be talking about birds. That's one of my favorite, activity as a guide. Yeah.
Well done, Calvert. You know, and that brings us into what our topic of the day is today. It's about birding. But before we start talking about birding, I just want to maybe just really talk to our audience and let them know that as we go into June, we are shifting gears with our Instagram conversations with Beks. We've decided that we're actually going to make it about storytelling. Storytelling, introducing you to people like Calvert who are out in the field, out in the front line every day, looking after our guests and seeing the wildlife, and talking about their experiences on the ground and also being able to tell their story. And alongside of this, we'll be slotting in these talks at different times to our many viewers. We'll be inviting also experts from different parts of the industry, just so that we can really dive deep into the lifestyle experiences that we offer as African Bush Camps. So if you can check out African Bush Camp social media channels to participate in polls and on our new time slots for any updates and for also our safari talks, which we have on Facebook Live. With conversations with Beks. And we'll be sending out newsletters to announce these changes, and we would like you to help us shape the program so that it's relevant to you. So thank you very much again for joining us. Calvert, let's dive straight into this whole subject of birding. I mean,
Yes.
I so many times when I was guiding permanently, you know, I would sometimes have people arrive for the first time from overseas, and the first thing they'd say is, "Look, I want to see the big many people come together, I know, etc." But what I found is that you begin to tell people about the variety of activities and the variety of species of different things that you can see. And one of the things, obviously, that we mention is birding. And people sort of have a very surprised look. And many people, for the most part, would say, "Look, we're not that interested in birding, but you know, you can point out a bird or two." But for me, it's the vividness of the birds in Africa, the variety, and added to that, the behavior of these bird species. They're so fascinating that people actually get so sucked into that. I'm sure you've seen a lot of that. So I don't know if you've had the same experience where people just absolutely fall in love with birds by the time they leave. But why don't you tell us a little bit about your passion for birds, and then maybe tell us about some of the surprising experiences of guests that have been sucked into this sort of area.
Yeah, Bexy, you know what, it's very interesting, you know, to introduce something to the people which they were not thinking maybe they're gonna fall in love with. So as a guide, you know, to do bedding is a challenging activity because, you know, you see some birds which, especially the young ones, before they attain the adult plumage, you know, you have that challenge, you know, to find out exactly which eagle is that. So, you know, if you're doing it with the guest as well, like what I like with this activity, you know, I don't just give them the name of a bird, but what I do is kind of ask them to check the features. They check the beak, they check the rump, how the legs and the cere. Then I give them the family, maybe family of eagles or so. And then the moment they manage to identify the bird, then you find that as you are doing the game drive, then they'll be now tending to ask which bird is that, which bird is that, which bird is that, which bird is that. So this is something, you know, an interesting subject. It's not like seeing elephants, seeing buffaloes, you know, seeing different birds is just a great subject, a great activity. Yeah.
So, you know, you talk about seeing birds from a young age, and of course they transform. For example, eagles. It takes
Yes.
eagles at least a good 5 to 7 years before they can transform into their full adult plumage. So from this
Yes.
mottled color to this absolutely brilliant looking adult plumage. But it's not only the birds, seeing them from when they're youngsters and seeing, you know, what we call juveniles and seeing their adults, but it's also like the time of the year. I mean, there's certain birds that look absolutely, it's called a breeding plumage. Which when people arrive, for example, in our summer, which is from December through to March, what's always fascinated me is that then you have all your birds, all your females coming into breeding plumage, and even some of the males, and you see this transformation of color. So the same bird, you're seeing it in a different color and at least coming to light and showing off its beauty. It's obviously a way that nature brings things alive. Do you have a favorite time of the year? Because certain times of the year, some of these birds look quite average. Although for us as guides, being able to spot them, it's fascinating to be able to identify them when they're in actual fact a different color. Do you have a favorite time of the year?
Yes, green season, summertime. That's my favorite time of the year because that's when most of the birds, Palearctic migrants and inter-African migrants are coming to Africa, Somalisa for different reasons. By then, the males, they'll be making these melodious songs and they're showing different colors, which is something very good and it makes the bush more unique. So it's the favorite time of the year that I like.
So it's really nature showing off its best in our summer months, where everything is green, lots of food, lots of insects. The birds are happy because there's so much food in the form of insects, and also the wildlife. Most of them are calving down, having babies. Really, the bush is at its best at that time of the year. And the way I can really relate that is nature really showing off its very best. But one thing that is also part of birding, I'm sure, for you is just recognizing the fact that you can recognize certain species, or you can at least have an advantage. Part of the identification process is knowing what time of the year it is and knowing what the bird behaviors are that time of the year, knowing what they look like that time of the year. And these are all points when it comes down to small little birds that a lot of people refer to as LBJs, little brown jobs. Quite often it's the time of the year when you can actually tell what type of bird it is. Otherwise, it makes it very difficult for identification. I was just wondering, Calvert, first of all, do you have a favorite bird or family of bird species that you really like, that really excites you? So for example, for me, it's owls. And as you know, you and I know in our culture as Ndebele people, as Black people, if I had said this growing up in a village, I thought I was possessed with some demons or something. Owls aren't really looked at in great light. But what are your favorite birds or family of birds?
Yes, I have a number of them, but Beks, I like the cuckoos. Most of the cuckoos, they are migrants. You can name it, the Lavelland cuckoo, the Jacobin cuckoo, the emerald, the black cuckoo, the glass cuckoo. But I'll talk about the Lavelland cuckoo. Why Lavelland cuckoo? Every year, a Lavelland cuckoo nests around Somalisa area. They migrate far to Central Africa. So they come in summer and they arrive around November, November, December. So that song first, it makes me feel, yes, summer is summertime. And it reminds me during my days when I was in the village with my grandfather, when this bird started making that call, it was like saying, this is the time to prepare for cultivation. So make sure you have enough seeds, make sure you tighten your bolts for your plow, that song was like introducing summer, introducing rain season. Right, back to the bird at Somalisa. This bird nest, it's a broad parasite. So they don't do the parental care. They put their eggs in these aromatic bubblers. So I have seen the chicks of these birds before I went on days off. That was May. On the 4th, I left 2 chicks at Somalisa area. And those chicks were so loudy. And why they were so loudy is because they were begging for food. And as they were begging for food, the babblers, they were like saying, please keep quiet. It's so dangerous. There's predators. But how to make them keep quiet is to feed them. So the cuckoos, they wanted to refuel because they need certain energy that they can use when they flying to where their parents are. And the cuckoos were saying, keep quiet, but they were fueling them. And then I went on days off and came on the 21st. I found those chicks were gone. So probably they left between the 4th and 21st of May. So it's really amazing. And now I'm asking myself, how did they know the route where their parents have gone? So it's another question again. That's why birding is fascinating. If you follow it, you really enjoy it. But because of the inbuilt sense of of orientation, so they followed their parents and they are gone. So those are my favorite birds. You know, the species of cuckoos.
It's not just about the beauty of the bird, is it? It's also about the behavior. It's the interesting facts.
Yes.
How nature has very tightly weaved and designed it so that these birds can survive. And that's what I've always enjoyed about birding. And I must say, I do concur with you that the summer months are definitely far more interesting for birding. In fact, they're far more interesting for me. A lot of people think that the green season, as we call it, or the wet season, that they're going to be rained on, they might not see as much. But there's certainly a lot more birds, which includes all our summer visitors. All your wildlife, most of them are breeding that time of the year. So there's a lot of calves. It's baby season. You see a lot of babies of the different animal species. But also, you know, there's an abundance of everything from food in terms of greenery to insects. And it sounds very mean, but also, you know, with that being baby season, your predators are really thriving that time of the year. But the colors are so vivid, you know, the dramatic skies of the clouds and even the rain itself is quite fascinating. So what are the colors? Yeah. So I'm quite intrigued for you in terms of just trying to get to understand. Do you have a particular species of bird that you really want to see and you've never seen it before? You've heard about it and it's really high up on your list. So for a very long time for me, it was the Angola pitta until I had some successful years of seeing the bird up in monopools. But do you have a particular favorite bird that you still want to see, that you would travel to go and visit?
Yes, for sure, Beks, but it's too far. It's a hummingbird. I want to see that. Have you seen it before?
So the hummingbirds. So yes. I have not seen hummingbird. But Calvert, I think that it's not. You say it's too far. I don't think it's very far at all. So the US, I guess, is might be the closest.
Yes,
I don't know birds, but the US would be one of the nearest places where you can see a hummingbird. And I actually have some friends in Arizona that sit in their garden and have hummingbirds come into their garden. So it's also quite amazing how we look at a bird like a lilac-breasted roller. Okay, it is a common bird, but it's just the most glorious, beautiful bird. And it's not a bird that you and I, because we live in this environment, that we think about.
That's true.
And it's the same thing with people that live alongside hummingbirds. You know, as far as they're concerned, it's quite a common bird, and it's just amazing how we all live in these different places and want to see these different things. So I can appreciate how a hummingbird is quite high up on your list, and I'm pretty sure that one of these days when we all can get to travel at some point, that will be a place that you can get out and visit.
That's great.
Do you want to tell us a bit, Calvert, just to finish off, do you want to tell us a bit about your environment right now? Looking at the background, you're obviously at Somalisa camp. You're in the back of house, one of our back of house offices. What's happening around you? Can you maybe just describe for people that haven't been to Somalisa or haven't been there this time of the year, what's happening around you at the moment in terms of wildlife, birds?
Oh, well, as we are talking now, Beks, I can hear the pods are falling just on the other side of Acacia and Somalisa.
So you're talking about the You're talking about the acacia, the fruit of the acacia, the pods.
Yeah, the fruit of acacia, yes. The bulls of elephants are just taking these trees, they're just picking them. And this morning, one of our guys was driving to expedition, Somalisa expedition from Maine. So I heard him calling on the radio, Calvet, come and photograph, there's a cheetah here. There was a cheetah that was stalking some impala. That was between Somalisa and the expedition. And also, we have lots of buffaloes around. They just staying at Somalisa. You can't believe it. You will never see that tall grass. They spend the time just within Somalisa area. And hyenas, you hear them every night. And lions, our resident males, whom by Netai, they are advertising every night. So we have also a leopard. About 3 days ago, he killed an impala very close to 10 number 5 at Somalisa expedition. So yeah, it's great. It's great to be around here. So like maybe after talking to you, then I'll just go in front just to enjoy animals, whether Somalisa area or Acacia area. So then I come for my dinner.
You know, as I sit here in Cape Town, I'm extremely envious. And you go and enjoy that, Calvert. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. I look forward to when we can travel and we can share some of those amazing sightings of not just birds, but just being out in nature together. In the meantime, thank you and all your other guides and team that are working very hard during this period of time in looking after the camps, monitoring wildlife and reporting back to us to make sure that you guys are on top of what's actually happening around you. During this time of less eyes on the ground, because we've got no guests on the ground, our areas are very vulnerable to all sorts of illegal activity. And certainly you guys being on the ground is a big help to ensuring that the wildlife survives this period of time. So thank you to you and your team for doing an incredible job and continuing being the great custodians that you are for these beautiful spaces. And to our audience this evening, thank you very much for joining us. And we look forward to you engaging with us. If you've got any questions, please do send them through. Engage with us on our social media platforms or come in through our website and read about some of the conservation work that we're doing and receive some updates from africanbushcamps.com. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Of a wildebeest standing, standing still and looking. It's called Inkonkoni. Inkonkoni is the name of a wildebeest in my language. Yachama. The way he's standing and looking at something, standing still, it's called Inkonkoni Yachama. Yes. Konkoni Yachama, ha yelele. Konkoni Yachama, kona zake sport. Wachichilizi nkonko, wachichilizi nkonko, chichilizi nkonko, zake sport. Chichilizi nkonko, chichilizi nkonko, chichilizi nkonko, kona zake sport. Konko nya chama, ha yelele. Konko nya chama, kona zake sport. Ya chama nkonko. Yes. So we saw a wildebeest yesterday.
I'm sorry.